That I can probably identify as maybe black burnished ware. I think it looks burnished. It's all over the shop. There he goes. Look at that, it's another piece. All over the shop, really nice. Beautiful, I find this really, really exciting, doing this. You're touching something, work by somebody, work by the hand of a man or woman between 1500 and 2000, maybe 2100 years ago. Absolutely littered with pottery. To the god Mars Nodens. Bloody phone's gone off. To the god Mars Nodens, I, Tom Merchant, Tribune of the Guild Unison, fulfil my vow. This is the temple of Nodens. It's found nowhere else in the Roman. This name is found nowhere else in the Roman Empire at all. This is the only temple that we know of to Mars Nodens. Not all the inscriptions say Mars Nodens. It looks like the military ones. The military inscriptions by military men are. Equate Nodens with Mars, but there's other inscriptions that just call it Nudenti, Nodenti, and things like that, which suggests it was he was his own god, his own Celtic, British, Romano-British god, authentically here on his own without being attached to any Roman cult. But it's definitely a Roman temple. It's a basilica type temple rather than, I've done a video before in Maiden Castle and a couple of other places where it's basically a square format with a smaller square in the middle and an ambulatory around the inside that you can go around meditating or whatever. This is much more like a Christian church, but it's not. It's to Nodens. Now, Nodens is cognate, that is, Nodens is a concept that is equal to, it was like a cousin that comes from an idea that is older, but that cousin is Nuada of the Silver Hand, which is an Irish god, and also Nudd, the Welsh god Nudd, which became Lludd of the Silver Hand, which we know about. No, this isn't the ancestor of those. This is like the cousin. So this cult has a shared ancestor to those. So it's an authentic Celtic religion that's synthesized with the Roman Empire. So it's a classical Roman Empire temple format, but it's that we don't have any written, any prose or poetry about this god. We do have inscriptions, short inscriptions. What I just said at the beginning was the equivalent, the modern day equivalent of a barrack drill instructor from the middle of the 4th century. So anyway, yeah. So this is my short introduction to Nodens. I've waited for a long time to be here. It's been closed. It's on private land, and it's really exciting. But it's not the only exciting thing on this hill. Anyway, let me show you.
So yeah, very interesting. I like this place. What I was going to do a separate drive and then.
Now, according to, I'm in the Bathhouse now. This is all under floor, so it seems like it's set downwards, but it's the building. But they had to build a cellar basically to heat the underfloor, so there'd be hot air going underneath the floor. So they needed a gap, a space. So that's where I'm stood now. This is the bathing area, and there's some plaster as well, still on the walls. But what I was trying to say, there might be a bit of a rim from a pot. There's loads of it. There is loads of pot. That's greyware. It's Roman greyware. So it's middle class pottery, mass produced. Which was the strength. This is one of the disasters when the Romans left, when the Roman Britain collapsed. Is that there was pretty much a modern economy, and Britain doesn't recover to that level until about the 17th century. That's how much of a disaster it was economically. That's a nice bit of grey where I love finding. I can identify that. It's littered everywhere, pottery, and the mass production means it was cheap to buy, and when it broke, nobody panics. Much like our own culture, it's a throwaway culture. After about 370, something like that, ceramics start not to be mass produced in Britain, which leads to, so remember that 410 is when the Romans actually left, but we're seeing a massive decline before then. Things like Roman nails and stuff like that start to disappear. The basics of how to, Roman nails fix things together cheaply and efficiently, and pottery means you can carry stuff around and store stuff, starts to disappear. It becomes really precious. But what I was going to say is, Nodens, Nuada of the Silver Hand. It is a Celtic word, but it no longer, it's definitely of Celtic form, but it doesn't exist in any records of what the word means, and we know it is a verb, a name based on a verb, and that verb basically it's the catcher, the snatcher, the fisher, the netter, and that's what it means, and we know that from cognate Indo-European languages. I think they were saying Lithuanian, Germanic, Old English. They are connected with the Celtic languages. They're distant cousins in much the same way as the Irish god Nuada is the cousin of this god Nodens. They are the same thing, just gone down two different routes in much the same way as in the Dutch and Frisian are very close cousins. They just went down slightly different routes. So J.R.R. Tolkien is not just a fantasy writer. He was a professor of Anglo-Saxon. He thinks the word catcher is sinister, but there is it's because they found some very beautiful statuettes of dogs. We think it's also a healing cult, but then again, a dog can be a hunting, catching animal as well. So that might be an incorrect assumption, but who am I? I'm just an amateur. But what's interesting about it is there's a lot imagined about the ancient pagan gods of Britain. The lot of rot talked because there's very little information to build on to get a clear idea of what the pagan past was. But actually, when you start to learn about the pagan past, we have inscriptions. It's far more interesting. The reality, we can see where they worshipped, what things they worshipped with. We can see the layout of a temple to see how they might have walked around it, might have used that space, and we know the names. And something I didn't even mention as well, which is curses.